Have you ever learned English words, but when you actually meet someone, suddenly your mind goes completely blank? You know the words. You understand the grammar. You have watched hundreds of English videos, but when someone says, "Can I help you?" you just stand there thinking, yes, no, actually, don't worry. You are not alone. Today, we are going to fix that. Welcome back to the Day 5 English Speaking Practice. I'm Tom, and today we are going to practice English through real-life situations. No complicated grammar, no difficult vocabulary, just natural English that you can actually use when you are outside, at work, in a restaurant, in a taxi, at a hotel, or when you meet someone for the first time. And here's the most important thing. Don't just listen to me. Speak with me. When I say a sentence, pause for a moment and repeat it out loud. Ready? Take a deep breath. Let's speak English. Pure Jinji. Situation 1. At a shopping store. Tom walks into a clothing store. He looks around for a few seconds, and a salesperson approaches him. The salesperson says, "Hi, can I help you find something?" Tom smiles and says, "Yes, please. I'm looking for a black shirt." That's a very natural sentence. I'm looking for a black shirt. You can use this sentence for almost anything. I'm looking for a jacket. I'm looking for some shoes. I'm looking for a birthday gift. I'm looking for a pair of jeans. Now imagine the salesperson asks, "What size do you need?" Tom says, "I'm looking for a medium." The salesperson brings him a shirt and says, "Here you go." Tom looks at it and says, "Thanks. Can I try it on?" That's an extremely useful sentence. Can I try it on? Notice the little word on. We say, try it on, not try it. Tom goes into the changing room, tries the shirt, and comes back. The salesperson asks, "How does it fit?" Tom looks in the mirror and says, "It fits well, but I think it's a little tight." The salesperson says, "We have a larger size." Tom replies, "Great. Could I see it, please?" The salesperson brings another shirt. Tom tries it on and says, "This one fits perfectly." Now the salesperson asks, "Would you like to buy it?" Tom says, "Yes, I'll take it." That's another natural English expression. I'll take it. It simply means, I want to buy it. Now Tom goes to the cashier. The cashier says, "That'll be $30. Tom says, "Can I pay by card?" The cashier says, "Sure." Tom pays, and the cashier gives him the receipt. Tom smiles and says, "Thank you. Have a great day." The cashier says, "You too." And Tom walks out of the store, feeling like he just completed an English exam without studying. Now it's your turn. Imagine you are inside a clothing store. The salesperson says, "Hi, can I help you find something?" You say, "Yes, please. I'm looking for a black shirt." Again, "I'm looking for a black shirt." Now the salesperson asks, "What size do you need?" You say, "I'm looking for a medium." Good. Now imagine you want to try the shirt. Say, "Can I try it on?" And after trying it, say, "It fits perfectly." Excellent. Remember these 3 sentences. I'm looking for, can I try it on? I'll take it. These sentences can help you in many shopping situations. Situation 2. At a restaurant. Now Tom is hungry. And when Tom is hungry, there is only one solution. Food. Tom walks into a restaurant. A waiter smiles and says, "Good evening. Table for one?" Tom says, "Yes, please." The waiter takes him to a table and says, "Here's the menu." Tom says, "Thank you." After looking at the menu for a few seconds, the waiter asks, "Are you ready to order?" Tom looks at the menu again. He looks at the waiter. He looks at the menu one more time. Suplas. Tom says, "Almost. Could you give me a minute, please?" That is a very polite and natural way to ask for more time. The waiter says, "Of course, take your time." A few moments later, the waiter comes back. Are you ready now? Tom says. Yes. I'd like the grilled chicken, please. Notice the phrase, I'd like. This is one of the most useful phrases in restaurants. I'd like a coffee, please. I'd like a chicken sandwich, please. I'd like some water, please. The waiter asks, would you like anything to drink? Tom says, yes. I'd like a bottle of water, please. The waiter says, anything else? Tom thinks for a second. Then he says, no, that's all. Thank you. The food arrives. Tom looks at the plate. He smiles and says, wow, that looks delicious. Tam starts eating. After a few minutes, the waiter comes back and asks, how is everything? Tom says, everything is great. The food is delicious. The waiter smiles and says, I'm glad you like it. After finishing his meal, Tom wants the bill. He says, excuse me, could I have the bill, please? The waiter says, sure, I'll bring it right away. Tom gets the bill and looks at the price. His smile disappears. Spools. Oh double. Oh dummo. But he pays anyway. Because apparently, delicious food comes with a price. Now imagine you are sitting in a restaurant. The waiter says, are you ready to order? You say, yes. I'd like the grilled chicken, please. Again, I'd like the grilled chicken, please. The waiter asks, would you like anything to drink? You say, yes. I'd like a bottle of water, please. Now imagine you have finished eating. You want the bill. Say, excuse me, could I have the bill, please? Perfect. Remember, I'd like. Could you give me a minute, please? Could I have the bill, please? These are simple sentences, but they sound natural and polite. Situation 3. Taking a taxi. Now Tom has another problem. He needs to get somewhere quickly. So he gets into a taxi. The driver asks, where are you going? Tom says, I'm going to the city center. The driver says, okay, please fasten your seatbelt. Tom puts on his seatbelt. Then he asks, how long will it take? This is a very useful question. How long will it take? You can use it when asking about travel time. How long will it take to get there? How long will it take to finish? The driver says, about 20 minutes. Tom says, okay, that's fine. A few minutes later, Tom realizes he may be late. He asks, could you take a faster route, please? The driver says, I'll try. Tom looks at the clock. Then he looks at the road. Then he looks at the clock again. Finally, they arrive. The driver says, we're here. Tom says, great. How much is it? The driver tells him the price. Tom pays and says, thank you. Keep the change. The driver says, thank you. Have a good day. Tom gets out of the taxi. And finally, he made it on time. Almost. Bathia. Banidov. Thadiathema. Imagine you are getting into a taxi. The driver asks, where are you going? You say, I'm going to the city center. Now ask the driver, how long will it take? Again, how long will it take? Now you want to ask about the price. Say, how much is it? And when you arrive, thank you. Have a good day. Excellent. Situation 4. Asking for directions. Now Tom is in a new city. He has absolutely no idea where he is. He looks at his phone. He turns around. He looks at the same building 3 times. Namde. Tom finally realizes, I'm lost. Namde. So he approaches someone and says, excuse me, could you help me? The person says, sure, what do you need? Tom says, I'm trying to find the train station. The person says, oh, it's not far from here. Tom asks, how do I get there? The person says, go straight for about 5 minutes. then turn left at the traffic lights. Tom says. Okay. Go straight, then turn left at the traffic lights. The person says. That's right. Tom says. Thank you so much. The person replies. You're welcome. Tom starts walking. 5 minutes later, he stops. He looks around. Sko, Tom says. Wait, was it left or right? Oh, it's not far from here. Tom asks. How do I get there? The person says. Go straight for about 5 minutes, then turn left at the traffic lights. Tom says. Okay. Go straight, then turn left at the traffic lights. The person says. That's right. Tom says. Thank you so much. The person replies. You're welcome. Tom starts walking. 5 minutes later, he stops. He looks around. Sko, Tom says. Wait, was it left or right? Speak with Tom, asking for directions. Imagine you are lost. Walk up to someone and say, Excuse me, could you help me? Then say, I'm trying to find the train station. Now ask, how do I get there? If you don't understand the answer, say, Sorry, could you repeat that? And if the person speaks too quickly, could you speak a little more slowly, please? These sentences can save you from a lot of confusion. Situation 5. Meeting someone for the first time. Now let's imagine Tom is meeting someone new at work. The person says, Hi, I'm David. Nice to meet you. Tom smiles and says, Hi, David. I'm Tom. Nice to meet you too. David asks, Where are you from? Tom says, I'm from Pakistan. David says, Oh, nice. Are you new here? Tom says, Yes, I am. I've been here for a few months. David asks, What do you do? Tom says, I work in an office. David says, That's great. What do you do there? Tom says, I work with data and records. David says, Sounds interesting. Tom smiles. Well, sometimes. David laughs. Then Tom asks, What about you? This is an important phrase. When someone asks you a question and you want to ask the same question back, simply say, What about you? It makes conversations much easier. David tells Tom about his job. Then Tom says, It was really nice talking to you. Yeah, you too. See you around. Tom says, See you. And that's it. A simple conversation. No complicated vocabulary, no difficult grammar, just natural English. Final speaking challenge. Now I want you to imagine that you are Tom. You walk into a shop. You say, Hi, I'm looking for a black shirt. The salesperson asks, What size do you need? You say, Medium, please. The salesperson gives you the shirt. You say, Can I try it on? You try it. You like it. You say, It fits perfectly. I'll take it. Now you go to a restaurant. The waiter asks, Are you ready to order? You say, Yes, I'd like the grilled chicken, please. After eating, you say, Could I have the bill, please? Then you take a taxi. The driver asks, Where are you going? You say, I'm going to the city center. And you ask, How long will it take? Later, you get lost. You ask someone, Excuse me, could you help me? Then, I'm trying to find the train station. Finally, you meet someone new. They say, Nice to meet you. You say, Nice to meet you too. They ask, What do you do? You answer, then ask, What about you? See? You just had conversations in 5 different real-life situations, and you did it using simple English. That is exactly what we want. So, how many sentences did you speak today? If you spoke them out loud, congratulations. You didn't just watch an English lesson. You actually practiced speaking. And remember, you don't need perfect English to start speaking English. You need practice. You need repetition. And most importantly, You need confidence. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Tom makes mistakes too. And BF, imyanam DFanable. The difference is, Tom keeps speaking. And that's exactly what you should do. We're going to continue with more common situations, including at work, on the phone, at a hotel, asking for help, public transport, and everyday small talk. So don't stop here. Keep practicing, keep repeating, and keep speaking. I'm Tom, and I'll see you in next video. Until then, keep speaking English, one sentence at a time. See you soon, Kreml.